Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm going to dive right into tonight's topic. We're just going to try and break this down as best we can. First thing I want to say, coming right out the gate with this whole thing, is I'm not really here to, per se, render a judgment call. I really want to just ask honest, hardcore questions about these particular topics. This one in particular tonight that we're going to talk about, which is really kind of a continuation on one of the other videos that I did talking about how porn destroys everything, and the adult entertainment industry just is incredibly damaging, not just to the people involved, but to the people that consume it. But in particular, well, I'm going to call it only fools, but I'm sure you know exactly what I mean. I just want to make sure the YouTube algorithm doesn't freak out too much whenever I mention or refer to it. So I'm going to try to that as best I can by simply referring to it as only fools. I got that idea from a couple other different creators that have had to do videos on this particular subject. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. And one of the major things that I like to point out is I realize a lot of people come at this from the point of view of, listen, this isn't like alcohol or drugs. This isn't like some addictive, damaging habit or addiction that somebody has that is really going to destroy things the way these other things will. They won't destroy your life. It's consenting adults. Steve, what's your problem? What's anybody's problem with this? No one should have an issue because it's not destructive. And I guess the first shot I would like to, not really shot, but just an idea I want to throw at you right out the gate. Overwhelmingly, in my reading up on this and the research that I've done, overwhelmingly, people that are the content creators of Only Fools, of adult entertainment, have a far, far higher rate of self deletion, of mental health issues that lead to alcohol and drug abuse, where they're attempting to cope by basically drowning it whenever they can. Far, far higher rates of that. And depression, anxiety, and all the other things that they're dealing with at a much more increased rate than almost any other group that you want to look at if you're going to do a study on it. And I realize some people want to hold desperately to the, well, it's not really harming anything. You're just not treating this right. It really isn't an issue. But I got to say, even from the opening standpoint right there, that's a harmful thing. That sounds like something that's doing some real damage. And that's just the people that are making it. We haven't even gotten into the people that are actually consuming it and what it's going to do to your life, your views, your relationships, other the way you relate, especially as a man to a woman, because it's a lot of men that mostly consume. But I have to say, in some of the studies and things that I've been reading about, there are actually an increased amount of women that are apparently now consuming all sorts of adult content. So another thing to point out too is that I realize it. Well, in my personal opinion, that I will throw out there here at this point, and it's not really meant to offend, but you have to realize there's always a price to be paid. That when you engage in this sort of behavior, especially as a creator, and I'm speaking to people that would defend those that are doing this, they might be doing it because they find it exciting. Most of the time, at least from what I've been able to find in research, they're doing this for financial reasons. They're thinking that it's going to have a big payday for them. And they're basically doing it with the famous talking points of, I am being empowered and I have my freedom that I'm exploring with all of this, and living in utter denial of the fact that there is a price to be paid later. And there's always a price to be paid. And the stuff that I just described to you is really ultimately not just the price that you're going to pay with that, but some of the other prices that you end up paying is the damage done to people's reputations, in particular the creator's reputation down the line. Um, Future employment opportunities go away. A lot of the time, nobody wants anybody that's been involved in Only Fools. Uh, and that's a huge deal because I mean, if you're paying attention to the fact that everybody does an online background check, If you're attempting to get a job anywhere where you're not starting your own business, everybody's going to be doing an online background check. And if they find an account like that, you think they're going to bring you in. And you can complain all you want and say it's not fair. Everybody needs to be accepting of this. Probably not going to happen. And for those people that are doing work as creators, not just your own mental health, not just the ripple effects, because we all need to realize that none of us are an island. None of us stands alone. We all have ripple effects to every person around us. And as long as you live your life selfishly, where you act like you don't have a ripple effect with the actions that you take, that it should all be about you, and it's all about the never-ending pursuit of self and self-gratification, and to hell with what it's going to do to anybody else. One of the most disturbing articles that I read in looking into all of this was what happened to the children, in particular of women that had joined OnlyFools, and the heartbreaking stories of how it affected them, knowing that they had a parent that was doing this. In some cases, it would get exposed, like at their school. Somebody would find out, and then it would spread all through the school. And you can try and take the stance of, well, the school should not, no one at the school should be running around talking about this. But I guess in the reality of it, you have to understand one thing: as grown adults, having a conversation and having real honest questions about this. If you don't want to be known for something, you simply have to not do it. If you do something you are going to be known for, attempting to pretend like that consequence is not directly connected to that action is insanity. If you don't want to be known for something, don't do it. Plain and simple. And the effects that it has on other people around you is massively, massively important. And you can live in denial of that. For those of you that might, I guess, come to the defense of this particular uh, on this particular subject. But the reality is, it has an unmeasured effect on everybody around you, especially if you have children. And I can't begin to stress that. And I realize that as I say this, and I'm talking about the creators, and there's probably maybe a fraction of a percent of people that might ever watch my stuff that are actually creators, but I'm kind of coming at it from that point of view of how it is a mockery, really, when it comes down to of empowerment and freedom. Because I mean, when it comes down to it, and let's just be brutally honest, it's online prostitution, people. That's what it is. And I can't tell you not to do it, and I can try and argue from a moral standpoint, but we're not going to actually approach it from that standpoint tonight so much as just trying to be logical and reasonable about it as best we can. We try to aim towards that on this channel when it comes to things, because I don't want to, even as somebody myself who was born and raised a Christian, who still is a Christian, and um, approaches my faith, with a strong, trying to have a strong moral compass as much as possible. I mean, we all fail at certain points, but as somebody who comes into it with that, I try not to ever even debate with people about that, because you can't debate that with somebody. They have to approach and find out about their own moral compass by directly attempting to address God themselves and approach and find out in their own way, in their own heart, and by allowing him to show himself to them. They have to do that. I can't do that for somebody. And the same with this sort of thing. It really kind of comes down to another question, and this is going to be more addressed towards people that consume OnlyFans, OnlyFools content. I'm pretty sure I'm going to fail on that in that attempt to just not ever mention the name. But for the people that are watching it, what you don't realize is that even on your own end, you're conditioning yourself to dehumanize uh, the people that are not only in whatever videos or content that you're looking at. You're not only dehumanizing that, it damages your ability to view somebody that's a potential partner or somebody that you're going to be in a relationship with. And I've heard red pill guys, in particular, guys that have been burned by just the dating landscape out there, argue, look, well, if we can't find good women out there, then why can't we partake in this? Even if you never get into a relationship again, let's say you might, but even if you never do, it damages your ability to be able to relate and deal with people when you, I hate to use this word because it often gets thrown around, but it does cause you to objectify. It causes you to dehumanize the opposite sex. And if you ever do end up in a relationship, it makes it incredibly difficult for you to have intimacy and to have realistic expectations when it comes to what it's actually going to be like, because you're basically conditioning yourself to think it's going to be one certain way, but it's so emotionally detached. And that is a major, major issue. I mean, you can treat emotions and spirituality like it's something that doesn't really matter, but the problem with all of this, with the adult content, with Only Fools, with all of it, is the extreme emotional detachment. It's ultimately the ideology of, this is all just recreational. Doesn't matter. It's transactional. Doesn't matter. It's just something that you can do with literally anybody, and it doesn't matter. But ultimately, in the end, with all of that, if it's something that you can do with anybody, then what is faithfulness in a relationship? What is sexual fidelity in a relationship? If it can be done with anybody, why would you ever be faithful, and why would you ever have any fidelity? You wouldn't have it because it doesn't matter. It has to matter for you to do anything about it that's ever going to cause you to remain faithful. It undermines all of that, and that is a major, major issue. And I mean, aside from all of that, I mean, really it kind of comes down to the standpoint of, do you view physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, as if it is something that has any depth or meaning? I'm not trying to offend or challenge anybody really in this sense, but ask a genuine, honest question and get you to think about it. Is that something that you think should matter? Does it have, is there anything sacred about it at all to you? These are questions we should be asking ourselves when it comes to these subjects. Because if you think that it's nothing and that we're all just animals running around doing this and we have no self-control, but I challenge you to consider the possibility that self-control should be a major issue with this. And for us as men that are addressing this issue, even if you're a red pill guy that never wants to date again, never wants to be in a relationship again, I totally get not wanting to get married. I wouldn't advocate for that, not in a million years, not in this Western society and culture, not at all. Don't do it. Not unless you really, really like getting screwed over. So, but if you're going to go to this, is there not another option on the table of simply having self-control to some degree? Beginning to practice it, beginning to learn to control yourself with that, and the potential benefits that come with that a lot of other creators have described, that I've watched on other channels, and stuff that I've read in articles that have described the benefits of just what it does to you on a personal and emotional and spiritual level when you start learning to control yourself that way. I'm just asking, have you considered it? Would you consider it? And for the women that might be consumers of any of this content, or they kind of spout the same talking points. So, well, I believe in freedom and empowerment. Wouldn't you consider empowerment to be a woman starting a business where they're actually out there adding something to society or adding something to the civilized world, not selling your physical body? Just a thought. Not an affronting, accusatory question, a thought to consider here. Was that what feminism was really meant to be? Because from what I've read from the early phases of feminism as they can be described, I believe they're considering it phase 4 feminism now, like, stage 4 feminism. That sounds kind of almost like I'm describing a cancer. It's interesting. But weren't the original people who were supporting the idea of feminism, wasn't the idea equality? Wasn't the idea being able to do things like start a business, to be able to rise and become a CEO, or somebody who is empowered to work and earn money and do things. And it wasn't based around basically the world's oldest profession or an online version of that. Does that not possibly cheapen that idea? Some thoughts to really consider. Anyway, that's pretty much all for tonight, and I'm going to leave it there. And as always, I want you to comment, tell me your thoughts, uh, any experiences you had with this or things that you've read about it, and make sure, as always, to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so I can inundate you with lots of other videos. And for those of you that like it, great. And for those of you that are triggered by it, even better. Jump in and let's talk about it. And I have opened up an email for everybody that wants to drop some of their potential experiences they may want me to cover in future episodes, or uh, you know, possibly some additional information I might be able to add in. I can't guarantee I'll get to everybody because I have been inundated ever since I opened it up. A lot of emails have come in, but it's at stevejamschannel@gmail.com. So if you're so inclined and you want to give me some additional information to put into a story, I don't have to include your name at all. And with that being said, I'm done for tonight, but I look forward to talking to you all again soon, and I hope you have a great night.